Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where I think that we've just successfully disambiguated between our right clicks on a waypoint node and on a hex, but we're testing that right now, as soon as it is loaded. There we go. Okay, so let's come on in here, and we will go ahead and buy some land, confirm that, and we will go ahead and, actually we'll demolish this first. There we go. Create a route there. Now if we select over here, must have a route selected to add a waypoint, and then we go here. Now waypoint to be dragged, and the question is, why is that coming up? It shouldn't on a right click, right? I think that's correct. But let's check to see if it selected the route, and it did select the route. That's really good. Okay. So one thing I want to check is, where is this waypoint to be dragged coming from? If input.get mouse button 0, I was right clicking. That would be mouse button 1. Hang on. This is in an else if. If classification equals hex classification.water, blah, 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 blah. It should have returned here, though. Anyway, we'll troubleshoot that here in a bit. But right now, let's see if we can create ourselves a waypoint. We did create ourselves a waypoint. Argument out of range exception. No world hexes found within radius. So get nearest hex is having issues. Why would that be the case? So we go into our building hex. We are in interaction mode .edit route. Vector3 position equals business.hexmanager.get building hex position hex ID, which we know it got correctly because it spawned the waypoint at the correct position, which is, to be precise, here, which was the hex that I clicked on. So then it should get all of the world hexes within this radius, which should get like these, approximately. Let's take a quick look here in the hex manager and see what's going on here. If col.gameObject.tag equals world hex, then we check to see if it's nearer, blah, 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 blah. For each collider col in colliders in a physics.overlap sphere. At the given position, and then 2f, should be an appropriate-ish size. Why is get nearest hex being called in this case, though? Well, let's find out quick. So we are calling get building hex position at position hex ID in the create route. We're also calling it in the edit route. So get building hex position and then add waypoint. Now I think that it's in the add waypoint in the route that this is being called. So then blah blah blah, and then we update the path. So then the partial path would be pathfinding.pathfind. Now we do have an index out of range exception. Is this in the pathfinding? This is in the hex manager, line 114. Line 114. Get world hex by index. It's interesting. Okay, so this is going out of range, but it shouldn't. If I is less than map_i.count and j is less than map_j.count. Oh, this isn't supposed to be map_i.count. This is simply supposed to be if I is less than, I believe, map.count. And then if j is less than map_i.count. That'll solve that problem. Okay. So we've got no world hexes found within radius, possibly because our argument was out of range, but that did come after. Well, we fixed the one bug. Let's just make sure that the argument out of range exception doesn't come up anymore so that we can discount that as a potential cause. But our pathfinding has issues, which I did expect, since we did 0 testing on it. The actual algorithm should be fine. It's the supporting framework linking it into our hex manager that I'm not particularly certain about. Okay, we'll skip the tutorial. We'll come on in here. We will go ahead and purchase ourselves this warehouse, and we'll demolish it. Create a route, bam, select this route. Now we don't have any feedback that said route is selected, and that's something we'll add later on, but we'll create a waypoint, say, here. Now we did get an argument out of range exception, and we also got no world hexes found within radius. Argument out of range exception, hex manager line 114. Really? Well, let's see if we can trace this error a little bit further. So we know that we're in the route, and we're calling update path, right? So our partial path equals pathfinding.pathfind from waypoints i-1.transform.position to waypoints i.transform.position. So let's go into our pathfinding then. And let's take a quick look here at what exactly this ends up doing. Now we didn't get this error, so we can safely assume that this went all the way through here. There's nothing in here that calls get nearest hex, is there? This is called from hex manager line 203, which is where the actual error came in. So hex manager line 203, which is here, nearest hex equals null. And then this was called from hex manager line 241, which is right here, get nearest building, return get building by index, get nearest hex, position. Which was itself called from route line 48. Which is the retread path? Which was itself called at line 28 here. So it's the retread path that's actually erroring. The rest is fine? Now, why would the retread path be the one that's erroring? Well, for right now, let's go ahead and just comment out the retread path and just verify that that's actually what's causing this. So let's go ahead and run this. I don't know why the regular path would work, but the retread path would not. That seems strange to me. But we'll see if that's what's actually happening here. Okay, we'll go ahead and skip that tutorial. Come on down here. We will purchase ourselves a hex if VLC will go away. There we go. We'll demolish that brewery. And create ourselves a route there. We'll select the route. And then we'll create a waypoint here. No error. Okay. So I have to wonder then, where exactly the line is. The number of positions is still at 0. Okay. Well, let's look at the route here quick. So the path. Size 0. Why would the path be size 0? If it's not going to return anything. We didn't get a path failed. Let's do a debug.log here. Path succeeded with 0 parts. Or I guess we'll call it steps. And then this will be the this isn't a context. Don't worry about it. We'll fix that here in a moment. But the path succeeded with path.count steps. Okay. And then this is going to need to be a string.format. Like so. Okay, path succeeded with path.count steps. Then we return the path. Now we are going to need to rerun this yet again. But I just want to know how many paths that succeed, or how many steps that path is succeeding with, because the origination point is getting no paths, or no steps to the path. But yet it didn't output the error that it didn't successfully create a path, so it created a path. Well, let's go ahead and run this yet again. And we'll just see if this is working. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Skip the tutorial, in we go, blah blah blah. We will go ahead and purchase ourselves this storefront. Sure, why not? We'll demolish it and create ourselves an origination point. We'll select our origination point, create a waypoint. Hang on a moment. It didn't output anything? It didn't output anything. We output an error if we return here. We output a success if we return here. We output an error if we return here. All three of our return states for the pathfinding method output something. How is that possible? That it didn't output anything there. So it instantiates the waypoint prefab. It sets the new waypoint route to this, adds it to the waypoint list for the route. Sets it to this parent and updates the path. How could that have... For in I equals 1, I is less than waypoints.count. I have a theory that this just isn't being called at all. If it isn't, then it should be being called once we set up a second waypoint. Argument out of range exception. Okay. Get nearest hex, no world hexes found within radius. So, confirmed. This is not calling when we only have one waypoint in it. So, I think we need to do for I equals 0, I is less than waypoints.count. Waypoints.count. Oh, I know why it's not working. Well, I know why this section of it isn't working. I don't know why this section isn't working. But the reason why it's not calling it when we have a single waypoint, despite the fact that it should be, is because we're not putting in the origination point as the first waypoint, which is also why I think it's maybe not working. Because the list just isn't there. As soon as this goes away, I'll show you what I mean. So in the origination point, we've got our waypoints here. There are no waypoints currently. We need to take this waypoint script and add it to the root as the origination point. That's what we need to do. So now, we'll be starting at position 1. And now it should work properly. I don't know about the retread path. Actually, the retread path should work properly now as well, theoretically. And that's why the retread path wasn't working. And that should allow us to see what's actually going on with the pathfinding. Because I'm still not convinced that this is going to work, because this shouldn't be happening. I do want to check to make sure that we have our correct world hex tags. Let's go into our prefabs here. Tagged as world hex. Untagged. That's the problem. The base hex is tagged as world hex, but the object with the actual collider is not. We'll go ahead and tag that. Okay, I do need to put a cut in here, but next episode, we're going to see if this is actually working. See you all then.